Hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for hanging in there. I like that one too. Groovy Tube. That's Groovy Tube. I like the Bizarro one too. With we've got a little bit of our skinny skeleton fairy, death fairy in there. So hello and welcome in, welcome in. Hell of a week. Oh my goodness. I mean, wow. There's so much going on. Told you it was going to be like trying to drink from a fire hose. Told you. Told you it was going to be like a wham damn doodle, right? Yep. Complete with fireworks and just mayhem. So, like I said, hang in there. We'll probably do a show about that over on the Rumble this week. Couple of announcements. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you. Sorry I'm late. I said I lost a shoe. I meant I threw a shoe. Just same thing. I was just late. Of course, we're late on the first show of New Year's. So, like I said to one of my exes one time, they said, "You're always late." And I said, "Well, honey, if I'm always late, then I'm right on time, aren't I?" Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. It's been crazy this week. I mean, how's everything going for you? How's 2025 said told 2024 to hold its beer, didn't it? It's only what, 4 days in? It's gonna be fine. Listen, we had and still have the drones, the fog. We've got the orbs, the plasma orbs. We've got people coming out and saying, Chicken Little sky is falling. We got this one, and this one has all got submarines on the coast of in every direction. It's got one, and things are flying off of it and coming out of the water and going back in and taking cows and leaving crop circles and all. Listen, sort it all out. Understand that what do we really have, right? We've got fog that's like not melting in pools. Y'all remember a couple years ago? It wasn't even a couple. I can't even tell anymore. It's like, it feels like 10 years ago, but I think it was 2 or 3. We had the snow that wouldn't melt and the snow that wouldn't burn. And then we had that hard freeze on Texas where all the power went out and it got so cold in Texas. And, Ted, you were right here with me. We were talking about lard candles. Remember, we were talking about lard candles and putting a tent up in your living room and getting in your tent and getting your books and your cards and your Scrabble and Monopoly and get all that stuff back out and stay warm, stay moving, take turns reading, doing whatever you got to do just to stay warm and stay active and put blankets over your windows and do the thing. We were here during that time, Ted, we were here talking about it because we were talking about Crisco candles, remember? And to be careful of the outsides because those things are cardboard now. They're not metal anymore. How to make all that stuff, how to put a taper candle inside of, it doesn't have to be Crisco. It could be, great value. I don't know what you have at your place. It could be just lard, good old lard, right? You got them now. You're in your tent now in your tutu tent. Is it warm? Listen, the only thing I care about is, are you warm? If you're good and warm and Connor's good and warm, look at that baby. Look at him sleeping. Look at him. That's Lord Connor, everybody. So, I mean, how could you not be warm with him as a sleeping bag buddy, But that's the thing. I want everybody to get smart and don't think it's not going to happen to me. And just, yep, foggy fog. There's pirates in the fog. This is official. We've known this for many years. John Carpenter told us so. And so stay out of it, seafoam stuff. Yep. And stay out of that. Don't talk to the orbs. We've established that last week. We don't want to talk to the orbs. We don't want to try to shoot the drones down, especially the ones the size of SUVs. God, you'll take out a mall, or something. So think about it. And it's okay because the powers that be that we give good money to, hand over fist, constantly every week out of our paycheck, are assuring us that we are safe and well taken care of and well watched over as we work our butts off to pay their salaries. So fear not, because they're in control apparently, and they don't know what it is, but they know darn good and well there's nothing to worry about here. So that sum it up pretty well. There you go. Oklahoma. You're in Oklahoma. And let's see, we got Oklahoma's nice. There's parts of Oklahoma I hear they're very, very nice. That's wonderful. I don't know. How's everybody doing with the weather? Now we've got some weather. I opened up X the other day and I get my AccuWeather, the map I'm looking at. Do I need to talk about this? And I open up my X and there's this weather map. And how do I put it? There's an unfortunate formation that covered the storm that was going to hit kind of southeastern United States. And I looked at it and I said, I can't be the only one that's seeing this because I'm just seeing the AccuWeather map. And I look underneath the AccuWeather map and there's thousands of memes. And I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that saw it. It's not just me. Because it's like a Rothschild test sometimes when they do those blobs on there and sometimes they come out in unfortunate shapes and you can't help it. And then once you see it, can't unsee it. Oh, I wasn't the only one. So anyway, supposedly everybody in the pink is getting bad snow and bad weather. So please be mindful. If you have generators, if you have fuel, make sure your car's topped off, everything's winterized, your back hoses are disconnected and shut off, all the things, your pipes, open your cabinets, do the stuff, get the animals inside. There's no excuse. Get the animals inside. Yes, the horses. If you have a horse, it doesn't have a warm spot, guess what, buddy? He's watching TV with you tonight on the couch. Just, get them in, let's see, just be vigilant. Make sure you got everything you need. Make sure you got a little extra food. Make sure you got whatever, make a pot of chili. We made sauce today, sausage and peppers and onions. Why say me, I didn't do much. And, get the crock pots out, get the rice cookers out. Those are also good. Here's another tip. If you do need to use a generator or a solar generator, they don't take very much energy to keep those going. So you can be cooking and not using that much energy, or, if you have a buddy generator. So just some tips, because listen, like I said, Ted, I know Ted and a lot of you guys were here with us. Vixen, I think you were here too. Hi, honey. Froze, you were probably here too. When we were talking about that, and then it hit Texas and the power grid went out and it was awful and it was so cold, and just I don't want to see that happen to anybody. People in Tennessee, North Carolina, there's still the Amish are up there building houses, so fast. It's amazing. Look it up. There people are donating trailers and things like this. It shouldn't be this way. Like I said in the beginning, all that should have been taken care of. Like how that fast. No question, but it isn't, and that's a whole nother episode. But please don't forget them, and please learn from it as well and have your stuff together, but listen, here's the deal. You could have had everything 100% correct. You could have been the number one person prepped, and the houses are taken right out from under them. So think about that too. All right, so that's that. There's a lot of stuff going around right now, and I'm going to say this. The PSYOPs are us. Now, what does that mean? Please, please, please don't let people take that word and manipulate you with it, because it can mean good and it can be bad, and it can be both at the same time. That's the beauty of a PSYOP. You have to discern it, but because we're paranormal investigators and people that have been trying to discern Bigfoot sightings and everything else for decades, it's almost laughable to look at some of their little stories and rip them apart. So I'm going to probably do a show. I'm staying right in front of especially the ones that have anything to do with anybody that has put time in the military, because here's the thing. We all know that there's stuff out there that they're trying to push and make, and I won't stand for it. Mm-mm, mm-mm. They have given everything. Leave them alone. These people should be absolutely put up and not want a thing, not have. Doctors should come to them, and everything should be, shouldn't just be pills and this and that and everything else. They should have the best care, the best homes, that they shouldn't have to worry, pay a bill coming back. They shouldn't. Combat vets, are you kidding me? So I hesitate when something like the Cybertruck and the Tesla in front of the Trump Tower and all that stuff in Vegas happened. There's a lot to that. Please don't jump to a lot of conclusions. Just 40,000 foot view. Who had the power? Who had the means? What's going on? I'll tell you right now, I've read all 3 of the written periodicals, the magic ones that came out of the phone that was magically in the back seat, burned beyond recognition, but we've pulled out, this journal that was written. There's 2 paragraphs there. I'll tell you this way. Between the email, if you know what I'm talking about, great. If you don't, just, make a cup of tea or something. I'm almost done. The 3 paragraphs there, when I read those and then I listen to them read, sounds 3 different people to me. One of them sounds like almost AI. It doesn't sound anything like a soldier of his experience would, how they would speak, their cadence. It's just not normal. If you're ever in the military, you just know what I mean. The second one sounds like him. The email, not sure. But here's the thing. Neither are you. None of us know. What do we really know? We don't know anything. What are you sure of? Do we believe what certain people tell us that they found? Or, it's just like, look, I still believe in 2-3 shooters in Butler. Why? Because there always is. And there's other things that lead me to believe that. But there's panels of experts that would laugh at that. Oh, you can't prove that with the sound and the echo and the number of the... Listen to me. There always is. There always is. That thing stinks to high heaven and everybody knows it. And so does this. So what does that mean? PSYOP. Okay. We're sure it is. Good or bad. We don't know. Who's doing it? We don't know. Could be multiple people, right? We don't know what he was doing. All we knew is what we're being told. Listen, I'm hearing very strong people who are very high up in the military to the point of very good experience that are looking at me matter-of-factly in the eye and telling me that they heard this, this, and this, therefore they're coming out with this. This is what they say it is. And I'm like, dude, wait a minute, hold on. 2 pieces of information you just use, it's not correct. It's not correct. That's not how it went down. People are taking, says this, for an example. Well, we heard that, his DNA didn't match his son. If they're talking about the new baby that he was in the pictures with, that was said, to the best of my understanding, from Sean Ryan's mouth, that he was talking with his attorney, his producer, Jeremy, I think his name is. Jeffrey, Jeremy, one of those. On the phone with him. They were speaking to somebody who was in the email requesting to be redacted because they were still active. Okay? And that person or the CID that was with him said, hey, Sean, his DNA didn't match his kids. The way Sean said it in real time when I saw it made me think, okay, they're saying that to say, okay, Sean, he's been a lot of tours, he's this, he's PTSD, it's right Christmas, he finds out it's not his kid. He goes off. Is that what was implied? I don't know. That's what I felt when he said it. I believe the way Sean said it after that, he was feeling the same way, like, okay, leave it alone, this guy's a loony. Listen, our soldiers deserve better than that. We can't let that happen where they're just labeling people. Don't allow it, okay? And then you look at this situation and you go, okay, it appears to be this, but is it? Because the first thing I wanted to know is, after I started breaking stuff down and seeing video, and I'm like, how do I even know this is the real video? Do you see what I mean? What do we really know in this day and age? What do you really know? What are you really sure you have? Well, you got a pretty charred up Tesla. Windows weren't even broke out in the front of the Trump Tower, as far as I know. Somebody with that experience, wanted to cause damage, could have done a lot better. It wasn't just they made a mistake that it was a Tesla that was armored and, would gone straight up. There's a lot here that stinks. What I'm watching is the after effect of what are they saying he was trying to do. And that last part that somebody came up with that said that they got this out of the phone. Oh, everybody rally around here. We must do this now. That was completely different. And it sounded like they're trying to push an agenda. Sounds like they're trying to point. This looks just like the Tet Offensive. It looks like Pearl Harbor. It looks like all these other things. Okay, we got to be mad because, at military or anybody else, or, mad at these people, and they're causing a problem and they want us to go and fight those people. Just tap the brakes and let's watch and see what are they trying to pull. PSYOP, which way is it going? Damn sure it's PSYOP. Who's PSYOP? When did it start being a PSYOP? Who's involved? Just questions. Why Vegas? You know what I thought? When I heard Vegas, I wasn't there. I was like, okay, this is obvious. Somebody's trying to send a message. Why would he go there? He was headed toward Mexico. Something's up. I'm thinking, hey, did they catch up with him? Did they knock him out? Did they put him in, And then I've got other people saying, he's clearly moving in there. When I see him sitting there, it's hard to watch. I don't recommend it. And his beard line matches up and everything else. So is he still alive? Is it this? I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the thing again, questioning what am I even really looking at? But for the part of if the video is correct, if that is him, if it's a real video, is he moving his head? Well, to me, it looks like during the right when the blast happens, the first part of the blast, even before you really see it, that concussion, it looks like that's when it turns. If I was alive and in there and alive, I'd be trying to get out. I don't care what I had planned in my head. I don't care how many Valiums I've had. Do you feel me? And I'm not seeing any Desert Eagle being held up. So I'm just saying what I've seen. Something's wrong. Something's off. We're not seeing something that's, correct. Now, I can't tell you what this guy, Scott's all about. Apparently he's on X and, people send whistleblowers, send him stuff and he puts stuff out there. I'm not going to get an argument about that, whether it's right or wrong or this or that, or somebody's trying to pull something. I can't tell you. I don't know my neighbor that well. I don't know members of my family that well to tell you what somebody will do or won't do. I've been surprised. But what I am saying is step back, look at it, give it a couple of days and say, what are they trying to do? What narrative are they trying to push with this? Because that's the ultimate deal. What are they going to try to use it for? Are we going to outlaw cars now? See what I mean? What are they doing? Now, what was he up to? I don't know. But again, just don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you see. Give it time. Let it breathe. And if you want, at the end of this show, I'll show you a little something that I think is kind of cool. I don't know if you know who Ian Carroll is. That doesn't mean I agree with everything he says, everything he has said, or everything he will say. Of course not. I don't know anybody that, like I could say about that too. But he does do a very quick outline of Bang and Bang Bang. This is what's happened. This is what we have so far. So if you want to see that and that'd be helpful to you and we have time, I'll be more than happy to play it for you. So let me lean in here to see what you guys are saying because I cannot see it from back there. Are you lost again? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you, Scott? Are you wandering? Or are you lost from what I'm talking in the conversation, or are you out wandering in the woods? That's the show you were talking about. Which one, Monica, sweetie? Sean Ryan show? Ian Carroll show? There's so many shows doing stuff on this now. And again, I am not, certainly don't have the experience some of these guys are out saying too. But again, people get upset about the darndest little thing and then run with it. And I'm like, God, my God, you're missing the whole big picture. Of course, not everything is a conspiracy, but my God, they certainly exist. I mean, gosh, I could do a whole episode sitting here just naming off conspiracies, not even giving details about them. And that's not theories. These are, it happened. You know what I mean? So, and the strangest ones are true. Uh, Apparently at this time that I believe, and I've been looking at them a while. So yeah, it's crazy. You need some more hot and sour soup. Get on that, Scott. You might need up to 5 cloves of garlic. Look, it's food. You can have all the garlic you want and breathe the fumes, guys. If you've got any kind of upper respiratory going on, get raw garlic, chop it, put it in a Ziploc bag. Now you add that to salsa, or you add it to a salad or whatever. Oil and vinegar. If you can do red wine vinegar, oil, olive oil, and you can add some cayenne pepper to it. Fresh is better, but I've got them and I dry them and go to the produce section and get some and put it in there and mix it all in. There's a reason I've mentioned all those things, because it all gets that raw garlic and the fumes and the acetylene into your bloodstream, your lymph nodes, your down into your lungs, up into your sinuses and everything else. And whatever the fumes touch, it kills the infection like that. It's amazing. Raw garlic. There was a clinical study. I can't remember where that was, in Canada or Brazil. I honestly don't remember. I think it was in the 90s. It could have been in the late 90s. And they took a mix of different kind of bacteria, put it in a petri dish, and another petri dish 18 inches away. Okay. They chopped the clove of garlic. They put a fish tank, like an upside down glass cube over top of it. And they left it. And then within an hour, 18 inches away, all the bacteria was dead in the petri dish next to it. Then they did another experiment where they did the same, but they didn't put the glass box over it, right? And they just shut the lights off and went home, came in the next morning, left it overnight, no lights, no nothing. And all the bacteria, it was strong enough to kill the bacteria in that petri dish, all of it, from 18 inches away. So they figured the fumes have to touch it, and the depending on what you're killing. So if you've got it in your blood, you got to get it in your blood. You got to get it in your system raw. I've had multiple people tell me, I eat garlic all the time. I put it in my, that's great. But once you cook it, once you heat it up, you start killing the healing qualities of it. You have to eat it raw. So look up cures or natural, herbal remedies, raw garlic, and don't just read the first thing. Dig down there, get you some of the ones in the back end, because I'm telling you, a lot of that stuff has been scrubbed and hidden and shadow banned and stuff like that. So dig down and get that out and heal thyself. Because too many people out there have that cough and can't get rid of it, and the sinus infection can't get rid of it. It's just hanging on. It's terrible. Ian Carroll definitely comes with the receipts. Yeah, no kidding. And up to date too. And again, like I'm not saying he's just really good at digging and researching. He has the time, and I do the same thing. And when I'm looking at someplace else and he's looking at someplace else and we're coming up with the same stuff and this guy's coming up with the same stuff, people are going, tap the brakes and look at this. Does this make sense? It's the same with any of this. What are they distracting us from? Well, I don't know. We got weird fogs. We've got weird drones. We've got weird orbs. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff happening, all kinds of, So I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh yeah. Oh, did you watch The Ravine? It was good, wasn't it, Kat? It can be life-changing, baby. It really can. It makes you think. Certain things happen in your life and you think back at that movie, and it really does resonate. It really does. It's an awesome show. Yep. Sean Ryan too. And again, I don't know. How can he say the things he's saying? He's still on YouTube, right? I go wonder that. And then, I wonder, okay, so Rogan or this or that. And I've seen many journalists over these past 8 years that, some of them friends of mine, big accounts that just got wiped out in one day, just taken right off of YouTube, taken right off of Twitch or, Twitter before Elon got it, and there's people still not back on. I've got like 3 accounts on X that I got, real quick. But, so, you just got to wonder, taking the information, like I said, I wondered why Las Vegas, and right away I started thinking, okay, who's the ME, who's the coroner over there, who they used in the past, is what's going on, is, do they pick there because it's so easy to get it through the system of this is what happened, and you know what I mean. After a while, you just start falling right into that. So dark encounter, what? Dark Encounter. No, I haven't seen that yet. I'll watch it though. Have you seen Fallen? So that reminds me too. So moving on with that, like I said, just you know, second guess the information you're getting. If you don't know, uh, look back. Don't just run with it, because just like anything else, give it 24 to 72 hours and let's see what's going on. But please um, don't follow the narrative of wherever they're trying to corral us to, because there's definitely something going on there, in my opinion. Yep. Vampires never, yeah, there's that benefit, Scott. Vampires didn't attack Italians. Yep. Yep. Yeah, garlic and honey. I mean, you can do that. Like I said, the reason I put it in salsa is because there's something in the tomatoes that boosts the healing power of the garlic. There's definitely the olive oil is beneficial because once the garlic gets into the olive oil gets past some of the digestive uses of the stomach, and it gets it into the lower intestines, and that where it can kill things there. I believe it's the red wine. If you can mix a little red wine in a salad dressing and red wine vinegar, that's great. If you can just do red wine vinegar, that's good. I believe that's the one that gets it into either the blood or the lymph nodes. Can't remember which one. And the cayenne boosts it. The fresher, the better. And then if you're, so if you're eating a salsa, you're getting all that. You can mix it, good with corn chips or something. Most men I know that can eat that, even when they're sick. But like I said, the minute you heat it up, you cut it in half, maybe even more, maybe even destroy it, depending on how strong the garlic was to begin with. So in this time of upper respiratory, and it's gentle enough for kids. Kids can eat salsa, and they can breathe the fumes in a Ziploc bag. Take like 3 deep breaths and hold it. Get it all up into behind your eyes and all that. Be surprised at how much do that for a day and see how you feel. I bet you'd feel better. It could be, Monica. I honestly don't know. The acidity, yeah, it could be. It could be a lot of things. But that's why I say, if you've got the tools, look, you got a tent, you got lard candles, you got a deck of cards and some Scrabble, you got a small generator, solar lights, a crank radio or a radio you can run on solar or whatever. You've got some other things. You got books and you got food, right? You can make it, right? Get through, keep yourself warm, and plenty of garlic, plenty of cat's claw, plenty of silver, and just hang in there, baby. I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, there's plenty to pay attention to keep you occupied and entertained. That's for damn sure. But I wanted to say that in the beginning, and just kind of ease everybody. Everybody's worried. I mean, there's stuff happening. This is global, So I mean, if you look at it, I mean, I think I said to my boss, she asked me what's going on. I said, which one? Because she hadn't heard of things that had happened in Germany, and things happen in the UK, things happen here, things happen there, things all over the place. And then the next day there was more, and the next day there was more. So I can tell you this, I am getting the distinct feeling, though, as bad as it may look, I don't think it's an eighth of what they wanted. Something is telling me there's a lot of things, and I'm getting others telling me that too, like remote viewers and people like this telling me that there's a lot of things being stopped as well. So I think that's the light we're putting out there. I think everybody's putting that out. I think it's also the fact that I think a lot of that spell has been broken, so people see it now, and a lot of it's not working anymore. So that's given a lot more to the light side, if you know what I mean. And I think that's what you're feeling. So doesn't mean they're not going to keep trying. So hang in there, okay? You're armed with garlic and knowledge. We're going to make it through. And now we're going to tell some ghost stories. Is that cool? Yep. Just be prepared. Just be prepared if you can. You're not getting the fog up there, Vixen? Good. I hope you don't. You know what? And if it's red, it's going to help. I would say, of course, not excess or anything like that. Listen, my mom would say a hot toddy. It was a shot of whiskey, I think, with an aspirin in it and honey. And that would cut through stuff, for sure. Did it boost your immune? Not really. Whiskey definitely, any kind of alcohol lowers your immune system. So if you're trying to boost your immune system, be very careful with it. But wine, I would say, is probably an exception, as well as probably something like Jägermeister, which is odd, but it's true because that started as a cough syrup. But if you take the garlic and you do the fumes and stuff like that, you probably won't need the cough syrup very long, because it does work pretty darn quick. And if you're mixing it with the claw, you can up that. I've taken as many as, how clinical study on that. I can't tell you because I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you this. You can experiment with it, and if you want to up it, the trick to the claw, if you're trying to kill off something, every 4 hours, like a biotic that might be anti, if you catch my drift. So every 4 hours, so you set your alarm, yes, even in the night. That I found is the deal breaker there. I get up in the middle of it, because what's happening is we're sending all our armed guys to the front lines to fight whatever it is we're fighting, and then somewhere in the night we're not sending them the ammo they need, and they're just getting overrun. So they gain more ground, the bad guys. And I'm talking about infection and stuff now, but whatever crud you got, So you need to keep it going, and at least 3 to 5 days. If you can do that every 4 hours, whatever your dosage is, 1, 2, 3, do it. And I'm talking 500 milligram. And that's why I tell everybody to go to the same place, because then I know how many milligrams they're working with. If they're doing the 250s, or if they're doing the whole plant, or they're doing the root, I know what they have. I can kind of give them an idea. And listen, I've had pets on this stuff. So I'm not saying go willy-nilly and start giving it, but there are plenty of PetSmart is even selling it now in bags. I had a lady, I told her to go get it once. She bought that and she was eating it by the spoonful. Can you imagine? I mean, I've done that, so I don't need to imagine, because that was all I had once and I didn't want to get off it. But I don't recommend it. Get the capsules. Swanson's good. I think that's a pretty good one, swanson.com. So they're not unsolicited. They are not paying this. They didn't pay me to say that. But there you go. It is, and I sometimes I take it for granted, and then I get off it, and 3 days later I start, getting the posture of a boiled shrimp, and my hip starts going, and my knee starts going, and the arch on my left foot from the car accident starts acting up, and I'm like, whoa, where's that been? So it does matter. All right, so what do we have tonight? I pulled a couple. I thought this was kind of neat. I found some old BBC. I don't know what show this is. Maybe my friends across the pond can help me out here. I don't know if it was a popular show, but I thought it was delightful, and I love the people that were doing it. So I'm going to pop it up here. It's a couple of old BBC shorts, and they're involved in either the odd, the strange. There's so many of them, and I picked a couple that I just thought were really good. And the first one is really delightful. And I'm going to get some hot water for my tea, and I hope you brought snacks. It's so good to see everybody. Oh, before I play this, let me say this again. Okay. So I thought, since we had a great time on Christmas Eve day. We were all here. We were here for 13 hours. Then we did so much fun. Then we did the day after Christmas to relax and chill, right? And then we did New Year's Eve, and we had a blast. We played Ghost of Mr. Chicken. We played Poseidon Adventure, 1972. It was fantastic. Ernest Borgnine and all the guys. Then we did Bell Book and Candle. Thanks again to everybody, Ted, to Gerald, People that sent me clear copies of movies. I appreciate it. We watched Gremlins and so many other different terrific movies. So I thought, since Rumble's going to let us do this, I thought we could have Movie Tuesday. I'm going to try to do it again towards the end of the week, but I never want to step on anybody's toes on a Friday or Saturday. And Friday and Saturday is probably the only other time I could do it with my work schedule. So I'm trying to work it out that way. But I thought for sure we could do it Tuesday night at the movies, like they used to do back in the 70s. I've got a lot of different ones I'd like to show you guys. I want to do it pretty much ghost movies, paranormal, or something along the paranormal lines. I'd love to show you movies like The Fallen with Denzel Washington that actually has some knowledge in that. Nefarious, The Ravine, and some of the others, like The Others and Sixth Sense, and movies that we can watch and then do, once we watch the movie, have a short half-hour after watch party. We'll be in the chat during the movie, and then it can come in kind of live for a short amount of time after, and we can talk about what we got from that movie. Did we learn something paranormal? Was it complete BS as far as what we've learned in the paranormal, supernatural, the metaphysical? And I think it would be very cool, and it would also be a great learning tool where we can all bounce ideas off each other. So get over there on the Rumble, join over there. If you're over there now, please hit the like. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm also trying to set up different things where I can see the chat. A lot of my friends have Rumble shows where they have all the chat popped out and it's all over the place. I'm working on that to get it fine-tuned, because I can't always see in real time if you guys send in a Rumble rant or something like that. So if I ever miss a comment over on Rumble, StreamYard has all the chats mixed, but it doesn't have the special features. So I'm not going to see a Rumble rant unless I see it pop up on one of my other screens. So if I miss it, it's just, it's just me, and I can't focus on everything at once, but I'm working on it. So see if we can fine tune that. But Tuesdays, and I think we can start this week, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to pull. We might. I don't know which one I'm going to pull first, but it will definitely be movies that I think that we can learn something from or get something from in the paranormal or even conspiratorial or true crime as we move down the road. Because believe me, a movie a week, we're really going to catch up fast. Okay? Hey, Lori, welcome in. Oh, Ghost in the State. Ooh, that might be a good one. The Matrix might be good too. There is a cool documentary called Ghosts in Stately Houses that you might enjoy. It's from the early 60s. Oh, I'd love it. I'd absolutely look that up. And I try to show some of that here on YouTube. The Matrix, maybe so. I honestly think the first one is either going to be Fallen or Nefarious. And the reason I want to show those is because in both of those movies, as scary as they can be, they're, to me, they're reaffirming for everything I already know. And when you can walk away from a movie like The Ravine and movies like this that reaffirm what you already know, it tells you that the tools you already have in your toolbox, that you're getting to know how good they really are. It's like, man, these are good tools. I got something here. I can really fight the three-headed dragon with these. And that's what I want you to get. I want you to be able to walk away from these movies either with a better understanding of ghosts and, ghost and everything, from good, bad, and the ugly, and I think that'd be a really good extra. Plus, we can see it together, and I think that'd be kind of cool. So this Tuesday night, probably at 8 o'clock, and we'll start pulling movies. So if you have access to those or whatever, we are not going to make money on this. This isn't something where I'm putting it up and Grumble's going to put ads on it and I'm going to make, money off of these people. I am not. I'm doing this free of charge out of my pocket, put it up there so I can share it with you. And that's, I think that's pretty cool, because it's just like us showing it in the backyard on the garage side of the garage or something. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing. And I hope you'll join us. So for now, let's take a look back. Let's see. Let's see what we got.
A brick through the window is the least of the problems facing the firm refitting 82 Richmond Road, Kingston. They say there have been unforeseen delays. Builders' promises, you might think. But in this case, there does seem to be a reason. The place is haunted. A man working in an empty room was struck in the back by a piece of flying metal bar. There have been light bulbs falling. There have been nails flying across the room and shovels falling downstairs. A ladder placed against that first floor window started to vibrate violently and then crashed to the ground. The man on it is in hospital. And a mysterious name appeared on one of the workmen's toolboxes, and an object from that toolbox disappeared. It'll hardly surprise you to learn that that object was a spirit level.
Considering it's their first brush with the occult, the survivors, Chris, Bill, Harvey and Fred, are commendably calm. And there's nothing fey about any one of them. Indeed, they manifest a remarkable solidarity.
I've seen this young fella here dragged across the cellar floor by unforeseen hands. Not kicking himself across, dragged across. I'll admit I stood there, you know, tears were running out my eyes watching it. And he was screaming, you know.
With laughter?
I was, yeah. Tears were running out of my eyes. I couldn't stop laughing at it because he was being dragged across the cellar floor with his arms, you know, out backwards.
What about this fella on a ladder?
That's the window cleaner guy.
What happened to him?
Well, he's told people at the hospital and other people that he was actually pushed. And he made a grab for a window frame and it came away in his hands.
Do you believe any of this stuff?
Certainly do, yes.
What have you seen?
Well, I've seen the steps up in the attic there being pulled out underneath.
Nobody there at all?
Nobody there at all whatsoever.
Couldn't it have been one of your mates?
No, nobody moved.
I was down the cellar at the time, and 5 of us stood in a circle, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, a piece of floorboarding came up, 6 to 1, you know, and struck me across the face. Nearly broke my nose, actually, you know.
Skeptics have somewhat unkindly noted that the first appearance of this troublesome ghost was coincidental with the approach of the date originally set for the completion of the work. Happily, corroborative testimony can be obtained from a quite independent source, neighbour Margaret Rushforth.
The workmen came running along the road here in a state of panic and said, could I help them? There were things flying about as they worked in that place. And he had a cut on his hand, which he said a piece of wood had flown through the air and cut his hand.
The first carpenter that they had on the site, and there have been 3 now, decided that he knew where the problem lay. He decided that the biggest problem was in the smallest room. Chris, tell me exactly what happened here.
Well, he was working in here, and all of a sudden he ran down to the tobacconist, a few doors along. He went running in for a choc ice.
A choc ice?
A choc ice, yeah. Anyway, he just asked for the choc ice, come running back, and we found him in here feeding it to this toilet. And when we said to him, you know, what are you doing that for? He turned around and said, because Albert told me so.
And did it have any effect?
Well, a couple of days later he went screaming down the road and he never returned, and he left his toolbox behind. He wouldn't take it home with him in case Albert had jumped inside and went home with him.
And did Albert continue to be here?
He's been here all the time. He goes quiet for a couple of days and he starts again.
Why did he give him a choc ice?
Well, that I can't tell.
To be placated.
I stayed halfway up the building and asked the men to join me in this little healing service. And it was while I was saying those prayers that I became aware of a very agitated soul who was in that building, a soul that hadn't cleared the barrier to the other world as they should have done. And they were agitated, they were shaking, and I shook with their conditions. And I asked for healing and for safe conduct for that soul to go across the barrier where they properly belonged.
Good for for her.
But in
Good for
vain.
her.
It seemed that once again they were destined to meet their old enemy instead of their new deadline. Even managing director Ron Stocks is at a loss.
At the moment, I'm beginning to now think that I'm now in the region of losing somewhere around about £1,000 over this. And as I say, at this present moment of time, it now ceases to be quite funny. And I've now obviously got clients breathing down my neck. And when I go back to them and tell them that there's a poltergeist or a ghost here, I mean, it seems to be quite a joke.
But is he calling a spade, or is it hot air? Perhaps the only man who can decide is a building inspector. Spectre. Spectre. Spectre.
I thought they did a good job on that. So that was circa 1972. Does anybody recognize the host there? I don't know if they, went on to, stay in that journalistic, you know what I mean, in that job. Sometimes they come up and then, 10, 20 years later, they're the ones doing. I know, right? I do too. I absolutely do. And Froze, you come up with a great idea on that. What was the movie you mentioned? I started up here so I could find it. Where is it? Yep. What Dreams May Come. That is such a great learning tool. Oh my gosh. When he goes to the garden to get, oh my gosh, to save her. Oh man. And it's all dark and it's all the vines and everything in the greenhouse and she's at the well. Oh man. Absolutely. We see if we can get that. So for you all, everybody out there that's, that stores movies and has a couple of movies, we're definitely going to throw in some old ones too, like Ghost and Mrs. Muir. And we'll throw in, The Time of Their Lives and all these great movies. We're definitely doing Crowhaven Farm if you haven't seen that, but I want to get out some of these newer ones to help us get over these times. Because we're going to need some tools coming up the next, at least for the next 6 to 8 weeks minimum. And I think all of those type of things will give us back something. I think they're going to cut in there and give us some of those tools and help sharpen the ones we already have. And maybe even reintroduce us to tools we forgot we had in our toolbox. And that's what I want to pull out first. And that's definitely one of them. That's a good one. Absolutely. So I'm going to make a list. Keep thinking, guys. And if you do have copies of those and you want to send them in my email, it's journeythroughthegate@gmail.com. And keep in mind, I'm not making anything on that. I'm just putting it out there. If you guys want to do rants and things like that, absolutely goes right back into the channel. You can do those on Rumble. You can do the memberships. You can do that. And thank you to all my members in there. I just love you so much. Thank you so much for being there. It made all the difference in the world. It really did. It doesn't go unnoticed, believe me. But you can do Rumble rants and things like that, and that's fine. But there won't be any ads, and there won't be people putting ads. Rumble won't be putting ads on it, and I won't be getting money that way. And I wouldn't, because it's their movies. So there you go. We're trying to keep it on the up and up, because I don't think that you can try to do something spiritual and taint it by doing something crooked on top of it, because it would be. Some of these are just, brand new, just came out. All right. So that was pretty cool. I love the lady. I love the fact that she just naturally kind of fell into the knowing of what to do. And, was it enough? Did it make a difference? I don't think the outcome of it is as important as is the fact that she knew what to do and she just knew it in her bones. You see what I mean? I think that's very special. I think it's cool the way the guys were just talking about it and ribbing each other about it. And the guy even went out and got him a chalk ice. I have no idea what a chalk ice is. I would assume it's some kind of chocolate ice cream or something along those lines. And he's feeding it to the toilet. If you notice what he was saying, because the voice was coming out of the toilet, out of the sewer system, telling him to bring, like Pennywise in It, telling him, go get me a chocolate ice cream. And the guy did it. So that was pretty funny. I like the way at least this BBC channel handled the whole story. They kind of went at it in a light, airy kind of mood, but they didn't seem to be completely dispelling it either, and kind of making those those jokes like ha ha Harry, haunted, construction crew can't, get the job done, that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little different. I thought it was kind of cool. What is it? Not the entire vacation. Oh, what are you doing? Shetland, great BBC series. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Should I check it out? Shetland is amazing. Okay, that's too amazing. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Let me check it out. All right. So the next one, I also wanted to throw some fun stuff in here because we've had such a crazy week. And I think I'm going to show one more, and then I'm going to show you a couple of fun things. But I forget what this next one is. Oh, this next one's just nutter to the core. I don't know what the hell is going on in this video. I don't pretend to understand it. I brought it in for my UK people. If you guys can tell me, maybe it's something famous you've heard about before. I have not. This was a new one in my book. And that's, not that there's not stuff out there. Just take it for what I mean it for. I never heard of this before. This was crazy. So let's just play it. You tell me if you've heard it before. Here it comes.
The footage you are watching from 1976 was only ever shown once on television, but the memory of it has haunted some people ever since. It's a report about a werewolf figure that was associated with 2 Celtic stone heads found by children near Hadrian's Wall on the border between Scotland and England. Many of those who were watching the current affairs programme Nationwide at tea time on a cold February evening were never quite the same again. The audio was thought to have been lost forever. Was it cursed? Probably not, but deep in the BBC archives we have discovered the original sound from the second half of the report. Keep watching to experience the footage that scared so many people at an impressionable age. According to Luke Casey, the original Nationwide reporter, the Celts believed the head was as powerful a symbol as the cross is to Christianity. It represented all the great, deep, dark and dreadful things of man's nature. This ghastly deity wasn't just a head, it was a severed head. The Romans employed Celtic mercenaries to man the fortifications and discourage the Scottish drift south. These Celts brought their religions with them. While they varied from tribe to tribe, what they had in common was the head. Prisoners taken in battle were disemboweled in front of the many shrines, and the severed heads of the bravest and wisest were kept as a gruesome talisman. The gods themselves were heads of stone, and if there's any truth in the old stone tape theory, what more likely receptacle could there be to store up the awesome memory of those savage times? Those cold, impassive eyes must have soaked up death like blotting paper. Let's pause here briefly and look at this so-called stone tape theory that the Nationwide reporter Luke Casey talked about in his script. Well, viewers were probably more familiar with this idea at the time thanks to a ghost story shown a few Christmases earlier on the BBC. It's the curious idea that rocks and stones can somehow record past events and store traces of human thoughts and emotions. Okay, with that in mind, let's return to the Nationwide story. Well, just recently, something very strange happened in this most unmagical looking council house at Hexham in Northumberland. 2 stone heads were dug up in the garden in what may very well have been an ancient Celtic shrine. Mrs. Jenny Robson told Nationwide that she'd showed them to the lady next door. A few nights later, there was an awful crash. She heard terrible screams and everyone was woken up. The next morning, her neighbour told her that a horrible thing had come into her bedroom. The lady said one of her children was ill with toothache, so she'd been in the bedroom with her, and this thing entered the room. It was half man, half beast. Of course we laughed, she said, but it sounded so horrible, something like a werewolf. And her husband came running in to see what it was, but this thing had gone down the stairs, and she could hear it, padding as if it was on its hind legs. and when he went downstairs the front door was open, so it must have left that way. A werewolf? Padding around the Geordie council estate? It sounds ridiculous. So who or what was it? Mrs. Robson hasn't a clue, and it must be said that neither she nor her neighbour knew anything about Celtic mythology or the horrible things associated with those ritual heads. They were sent off to be examined and eventually arrived down in Southampton at the home of Dr. Anne Ross. Dr. Ross is one of the country's leading experts in Celtic studies. She's written 3 definitive books on the Celts and their culture. So it's reasonable to assume she's a level-headed lady, not given to wild flights of fancy. And yet she too claims to have had strange experiences after coming into contact with the heads. Dr. Ross said that 2 or 3 days after she received the heads, she woke up in the middle of the night. Her family would keep the hall light on and the door slightly open because her young son was a bit frightened of the dark. So there was always a certain amount of light coming into her bedroom. And she woke up and felt extremely frightened, in fact panic-stricken, and terribly, terribly cold. There was a sort of dreadful atmosphere of icy coldness all around her. And something made her look towards the door. We'll pause here, because this is the point where we've recovered the original audio. So let's hear Dr. Anne Ross continue her story.
Towards the door, and as I looked, I saw this thing going out of it, and it was about 6 feet high, slightly stooping, and it was black, against the white door, and it was half animal and half man. The upper part, I would have said, was a wolf, and the lower part was human. And I would have again said that it was covered with a kind of black or very dark fur. And it went out, and I just saw it clearly, and then it disappeared. And something made me run after it, a thing I wouldn't normally have done, but I felt compelled to run after it. And I got out of bed, and I ran, and I could hear it going down the stairs, and then it disappeared towards the back of the house. And when I got to the bottom of the stairs, I was terrified.
Did you see this thing again?
A few days after I saw it, we had to go up to London, and our teenage daughter had the key and came home from school at about 4, and we got back from London at about 6. And when we opened the door, she came to it, and she looked extremely pale and terribly shaken. Finally, I got it out of her what had happened, and she had opened the front door with a key, and as she opened it, a black thing, which she described as being as near a werewolf as anything that, she could imagine, had leapt halfway down the stairs, had jumped over the banisters, and landed with a kind of plop, like padded heavy animal feet, and it had rushed towards the back of the house, and she had felt compelled to follow it. And it disappeared in the music room right at the end of the corridor, and when she got there, it had gone, and then she realised she was terrified. The day that the heads were removed from the house, everybody, including my husband, said, it's as if a cloud had lifted. And since then, there hasn't been really a trace of it.
We saw dozens of Celtic heads in our travels around the country, and none of them would win any prizes in a beauty competition. With something less than enthusiasm, we tried to trace the two that were being blamed for all the aggro. We didn't find them. It seems that the various people who had them were only too happy to see the back of them, and they weren't terribly worried about where they went.
Well, do you believe it? Can it be possible that horrible experiences that happened thousands of years ago can somehow be imprinted or recorded in a stone head and then sort of played back when something comes along to trigger them off? Well, I've got to admit it sounds fanciful in the extreme. But then, supposing somebody had told one of the great composers, say, that hundreds of years after his death, an entire symphony could be captured in a little thing like this, he'd have thought they were raving mad.
There's your girl, Tab. Yo, Romeo, you're welcome in here. This ain't Juliet, though, baby. You don't put, that kind of stuff in our chat, because here's the thing. It'll burn. You know what I'm saying? It'll burn. And all this light, it can't exist. So, you're welcome. I highly recommend you hang out. Maybe some of the light will come up, but if it burns, honey, I just, you're going to need more than us, but you can't get away with that in our chat. Free speech is alive, but you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You see what I'm saying? All right. So, with that one, I don't know what to say. Vixen, thank you for your input on that one, because I had never heard of it before. I thought it was very interesting. They talked about the stone tape theory and those being made out of stone. So, of course, they would have absorbed a lot of energy. Your guess is as good as mine on that. That seems to me like, look, I'm all about, I understand the history and the way that, people guarded their perimeter, heads on pikes. I get it, and I mean, it's very effective to have, there's not just one civilization that put the bodies of thieves at the entrance of their kingdom to deter other thieves from coming in. Look, if you're coming in, this is what's going to happen. If, don't start none, won't be none. But if you're gonna, this is what's going to happen to you. And it kept everything chill. There were some really rough places like that. And, I'm sure you guys can name them off. Lots of people did it different ways. Even, places like Tombstone. I'm not saying Tombstone did it, but places like that in the West, same type of thing. I don't know what's going on here with that. I don't know about the sounds. I don't know anything about it. It was all new to me. Weird things happen every day, apparently. This one was funny. This one reminded me a little bit of a couple other ones that we've talked about. That one cupboard, that time those people went, the cupboard was going crazy, and then invited a couple of their sister, married sister and the married brother or something to come over, and they got 6 couples staying in this house all around this cupboard that wouldn't stop jumping around the floor, and they took it apart and it still kept jumping. Remember that? This one kind of reminded me of that. But it's just so quaint and funny. I think it's definitely worth a look. So, maybe we can learn something from it. Maybe not, but I just think it's entertaining as all get out. And I love the way they did it. So let me start that again so you don't miss that beginning. Let's watch her again. Here we go. Love that picture. I don't know why. It's creepy. So creepy. This ain't Juliet, baby.
Those thumps recorded in a house by a university academic have never been satisfactorily explained. They're the kind of poltergeist evidence researcher Tony Cornell has been evaluating for 30 years. A graduate of Cambridge, Cornell has lived all his life in the town, except for a spell as a naval officer. His interest in the paranormal was first roused in India by an old man who could apparently defy the laws of time and space.
He said, well, my son, if you want to learn about wisdom of life, look over the hills, look over the hills. See, he was standing next to me here like this. I said, what? He said, look over the hills. And I looked over the hills, and I heard the voice say to me, now do you understand And I thought at the time, now, do you understand? Turned, and the man wasn't there. He was the other side of a stream. It's a very fast stream rushing down with boulders in the middle of it. And I remember looking at him and thinking, well, how the devil did you get over there? Your toga's not wet. Where are the ropes? I couldn't work it out at all. I was thunderstruck about this. It was absolute nonsense. I'm being hallucinated or something. And he said, no, smiled at me and said, look over the hills, look over the hills. And I looked over the hills, and the voice then says, now do you understand? And I turned, he's next to me. And I went down from that mountain, not quite so cocky as the way when I came up it.
Since that experience, Tony Cornell has investigated hundreds of supposed hauntings and never seen a thing. Yet his latest case, a chest of drawers with an apparent life of its own, shows his search for the truth to be unflagging. The drawers of the chest, which is kept in a storeroom, have been opening.
Now, I know you guys across the pond have seen this guy before because I've done stories about him. I can't remember his name. I know they just said it, but I was trying to catch up something for Renice. I was looking up a little bit. I'm going to play for you in a minute. How to keep your house warm if you don't have something going on. And I'm telling you, I did this during Sandy and it works. So there's hope. But this guy, he's moved on to do paranormal investigation for a very long time, as far as I understand. So if you remember his name, or he's, done something else, put it in the chat.
Apparently when no one's there. So at the owner's request, Tony and two young physics graduates have wired it to a camera and a computer. The case has many typical poltergeist ingredients.
They'd had plates thrown about. They'd had a vase sail across the room 15 feet. They'd had various disturbances, hearing things but never seeing it. They wanted this thing cleared up. They thought they got a poltergeist in the house. They didn't like this chest of drawers behaving the way it was. They didn't like all the other things they had had, so in we go.
It's at this point where experienced investigators have to consider whether they're being spun a line. Magician David Burglass's stage billing is International Man of Mystery, but he's also a trained psychotherapist and vice chairman of the Committee for Scientific Investigation into Claims of the Paranormal. One poltergeist case he investigated in Holland showed how quite young children can bamboozle the adults around them.
In this house, the clock hands kept bending. And it happened even when apparently nobody was in the house. It happened when the family had gone on a holiday. There was a father, mother, and a little boy. Obviously, they suspected the boy at first. Then they found that he couldn't have done it because he'd been on holiday. When I came along and talked to the family, they were quite convinced that somehow I would get to the truth, whatever it might be. When I came to the little boy, I decided to play it very cool rather than being the heavy investigator. And I put my arm around him and I said, Eric, so why did you do it? He assumed that I already knew, so he said, just for fun. At that moment, the whole thing had been solved. And there are some of the cuttings, as you can see. This one says, David Burglass solves the clock mystery. It was then up to me to try and find the exact way it had been achieved. For instance, why did the father manage to swear to it that it had happened when they were on holiday? And the answer to that was, of course, that Eric had already bent the clock hands in the house just before they left. They locked the house up. When they came back, they discovered the bent hands. So they assumed that it happened whilst they were away.
People often invent or embellish a poltergeist story in the hope of getting a lot of public attention. That is certainly not so in Tony Cornell's latest case. Those involved with the mysterious chest of drawers have refused all publicity. That's why in this recording Tony made of one of the witnesses, released only to Nationwide, we are preserving anonymity by distorting the sound of the voice.
The very first thing that happened was I was sitting out here one day and I heard a crash and I went out and there was a little saucer on the table by the fireplace that had smashed in the fireplace. Yeah. And I said to him, how on earth did that smash? The most peculiar breakage was the one upstairs, where the plate went, the big plate of the set, went across the room, smashed on the edge of the fireplace, and we went up, and it was in 3 pieces on the floor. So I don't like being alone here, with funny things going on, quite honestly.
These are photographs taken by Tony Cornell of the baffling behaviour of the chest of drawers. One morning it was found with all the drawers pulled out. And there were other apparently pointless examples of interference.
You see that the drawer here has been pulled out and wedged, the top left-hand drawer. It's been wedged at a very peculiar angle and is hanging down. Then we've got some more here where we wired the thing up to make sure that if anybody started pulling the drawers out or they came out mysteriously, it was set everything off. And you'll see by this photograph here that the 3 drawers have just been pulled out sufficiently, the 3 top drawers, not to break the electric contact, which is, again, a bit peculiar.
Those who study these matters are concentrating on 2 possible explanations for poltergeist activities. One is that someone...
Thank you, Scott's Life, for gifting a membership. Renee got that. Now, the way that I understand that is if you gift a membership, it's really good because a lot of that goes to the creator. So thank you for that. It goes right back into the channel. And the person that it's gifted to, they get to have a membership for a whole month. So you will get, you know, you're in there, you're a member for the month, and it's up to you whether or not you want to continue on, or you could get another gift. You can get gifted. Now, how it happens is it's automatic, randomly done by, I think, the next person who chats. You have to be active in the chat to get it. It's really cool the way Rumble does that. So thank you so much, Scott's Life, for doing that. The channel appreciates you very much, love.
In the house unconsciously creates, perhaps through tension or aggression, a violent surge of energy which makes things move without being touched. The other theory is that disembodied spirits are somehow involved. Dr. Alan Gauld of Nottingham University, who's written the standard work on poltergeists with
my
Tony
goodness.
Cornell, believes...
I had no idea. I'm trying to catch it. Thank you so much, Scott Life. Who else got it? Who else got one? I'm going back over to see. Thank you so much. Was it up in here? I'll look while we go through this. See if I don't want to miss any. I apologize.
That as long as there's no fraud, poltergeist events are more likely to come from unknown forces linked to a human being on the spot. This case he investigated is one of the most mysterious he's ever known.
He was a boy of about 12, living with his mother and an ancient granny in a terraced 2-up, 2-down house. About a week after they moved into this house, funny things started to happen in his bedroom. Very loud banging noises, like a strong man with a sledgehammer thumping and thumping and thumping away constantly at the floor of his room, terrifying the family. I got called in about the 3rd or 4th day of this, when the noises were still going on, and I've got a lot of tape recordings of them. I once heard 200 of these very loud bangs, one after the other, and clearly this lad couldn't have been doing them, or at any rate he couldn't have been doing all of them, because he was observed while they were going on a number of occasions. He came downstairs while the noises continued upstairs in his bedroom. Actually, we took the floor of the bedroom up to see if there was machinery laid under it, and there wasn't.
Startling evidence, certainly, but real proof is more elusive. To try to achieve it, Gauld and Cornell have bought the allegedly haunted chest so they can wire it up to their electronic equipment and almost dare it to misbehave. Technology may help to make fraud a bit harder to achieve, but magician David Burglas shows that it can also be used to fool the unsuspecting.
Sometimes people make mistakes. I mean, they play around with lights and they go, hey.
Is it fused?
No, that was funny. It's funny we should just be talking about that, you see. But you see, you mustn't be fooled, because even a thing like that can be set up. If I go like that, I can put it on again. But it looks mysterious, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yes.
But are you saying that was a trick?
That was definitely a trick, I can assure you.
both Tony and I have come across a number of cases, sometimes quite entertaining cases, in which fraud has been practiced.
While I was talking to Dr. Gall, a telephone call from somewhere in East Anglia, where the chest of drawers had been, announced that there'd been another incident. And Tony Cornell set off yet again, to investigate. Later, he reported back.
This is ridiculous, honestly.
I believe it.
Look, I've just been down there when you were being filmed, and what they've now had, they've had a picture thrown on the top floor from a position down here towards the fireplace, and it's smashed.
This is the old staircase, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
See, the last incident was at the top here. Now they've got one from here. But I just can't make it out. I don't think anybody's fooling around. I think that's genuine. And how much of the rest is?
I didn't get the impression that I was having my leg pulled.
No, nor did I. So the mystery deepens, does it not?
It does.
Tony Cornell was for 11 years chairman of Cambridgeshire County Council Planning Committee, and his way of establishing any dirty work at the crossroads is one which Hercule Poirot would doubtless recommend. He maps out each incident and then plots the position of everyone in the house at the time.
If there are 38 events, as there are here, there'll be 38 individual plans showing the position of the person when the thing happened, or if there's more than one person, where 3 people are, for instance, as in this particular case. You've got to do that because you've got to find out whether or not they're taking you for a ride or not, or whether it's
After
genuine.
30 years of hunting and never finding the final proof that convinces beyond doubt, what drives Tony Cornell to keep on trying?
That's a very interesting question I've ever asked myself after I've been sitting up in a house all night and feel damn tired the next morning. I used to say, and I think I still say, to try and make sense out of what appears to be nonsense. Because a lot of this stuff does appear to be nonsense. What keeps me going? It's, I think, so far, a field that has not been yet fully explained. Allowing for the fact there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of delusion, there's a lot of wishful thinking, there still is a hard core of something that has yet to be explained. And it's a challenge.
Meanwhile, back at the storeroom, 3 more pieces of crockery have been broken, and in Tony's house, the chest is wired up so that if in the small hours the drawers suddenly fly open without human agency, it'll be immortalized on sound and film. So far, nothing. But we'll keep you posted.
Interesting. I found it, Scott. Thank you so much for Scott has gifted 5 memberships. So the way it works, if you're not in the chat, you're not going to get a chance to get it. So if you are watching this on Rumble, or you're watching this on YouTube, or you're watching it on Facebook, get over to the Rumble, go and follow us, hit that bell, make sure it's on instant, or else you're going to get it once a week, once a month. Make sure it's on instant. So when we load a show, or we're going to show a movie for free or whatever, you get to be there and you get to chat with all these great people. So get in there in the chat. If you're not in it, get over there. So if there's any more of those memberships, you can get them by commenting in the live chat, only in the Rumble though. It's only going to work in the Rumble. I can't always see what's happening. Thank you, Ted, for telling me that, or I would have missed it. And I appreciate it so much, Scott. Thank you, darling. So there's that one. And I really like putting that one in there because I like getting the skeptics in there too. They're going to tell you that, it's happening this way, or it's, people are fooling you or whatever. And that is one of the most frustrating things for anybody that is going through a haunting, or you have a ghost, or you have an experience, or whatever it may be, anything paranormal, metaphysical, supernatural. Saw an angel, saw a Bigfoot, got abducted, whatever it may be. That is the number one thing, is not being believed. And there's always somebody willing to be on the side to call you a liar. And I think that's why so many people don't come forward. I am so glad in my lifetime, in these, 50 years that I've been actively trying to seek answers in the paranormal, I've been able to see that. At least we've gotten to that point. But like I joke with Steve all the time, the wonderful Steve Stockton, talk to him about stuff like this. we've almost gotten to the point where now we're seeing videos, now we're seeing AI, we're seeing all these deep fakes and stuff like that. What are we really looking at? I mean, gosh, we just had, an unfortunate bothered individual that, for whatever reason, may or may not have chosen to do this thing in front of Trump Tower. And we don't even know what we're looking at. We can't even, not only do we not know what we're looking at on the videos, but on the emails, we're going back and we're trying to say, well, give me all the headers on the emails. What was the original email like? Prove to us you got this. I mean, it's so crazy how we have to keep going back and getting all these facts, but we've been doing it for a very long time. And if you've been doing it since JFK, we're kind of used to this by now. One thing I can tell you that I am so proud of is now they'll put out some kind of horse shit and people over on X will start tearing it apart. I mean, I think the researchers and citizen journalists and people like that, people that just like to research whatever they want to call themselves, had that stuff picked apart like the first 2 hours. They already had, like, he verified as a verification that he'd driven a certain year and model of a Mustang. It was his first car. People had gone in there and researched that. That's available information. Not only his first car, which it wasn't, it was the wrong year, by the way, but his parents, just to make sure that they didn't have the vehicle and he drove that. So, it's amazing to me how sharp people have gotten and how much they're not going to just take a headline for face value. They're going to dig in and try to get the facts and not buy, the narrative that's being thrown in their face. I love that. Hey, how you doing, Jane? Good to see you, sweetie. And again, get in there to Rumble. If you've got a Rumble account, it's free. Get over there. You're going to get yourself, I think there's another couple of memberships out there you can grab. So please, please, please. Okay, good. Midwest, you got it? Good for you. Fantastic. Good. And yeah, like I said, get in there and get that because we're going to do a drawing and when the books come in, it'll be great. And I'm doing some other stuff, so I don't want to announce it yet till I have it right here in front of me. So getting it all straightened out, guys. All right, so let's do this real quick. I wanted to do this for Renice because some of you guys have to leave early. I know sometimes, and I want to make sure that you get a chance to see this. If you lose your heat, now, again, if it's crazy and it's, below zero and all this other stuff, you're going to have to do multiple things other than what I'm saying. If you can keep going and keep, young ones warm, pets warm, and things like this, if you have any tents that you can bring in, because what you're doing is you're keeping your body heat inside one room and you're concentrating on keeping those rooms that you need warm. Okay. So you're going to hang things like blankets, moving blankets, things like this on the windows, on any outside source where air can get in, close off any gaps. You can do shrink wrap or plastic wrap, dollar store shower curtains, tape them to the windows. This is going to keep out that air. Make sure that you're not bringing in anything like generators or propane heaters or things like that. You don't have the correct air. Make sure that you know what you're doing. You've got a right air source if you're going to be bringing any kind of fumes. Now, if you have clean candles, and I say it like that because so many people are allergic and they can't have, look, you're going to have in your house what you can have in your house. So use the candles. If you have any clay pots, you have clay pots out around the house, dump the plants out of them, bring them inside. You don't even need to get them clean and spot free or anything like that. Rinse them out, clean them off, and get you 2 different clay pots that one is a little bit bigger than the other. A lot of people have these. If you don't have them and you can get down to Home Depot or Walmart or something like that and buy a couple, we're talking about a couple bucks here. There's also, I'm going to show you how to make a clay pot heater. I kept one room closed off. I had a blanket in the archway so I could, in the archway going into the hallway, I could go into the bathroom. I kept that relatively warm. This was like over 2 weeks of Sandy with no electric, and it got cold. It got really cold here in Jersey. So I did the clay pot heater on a slate table. So as long as you have a place where, of course, you think about where I'm putting it, shouldn't be any problem. I've seen people do this on boats and everything else. You do have to worry about if you have your candles and it'll make sense here in a minute, underneath, and they overflow, there can be a thing where you call like superheating with certain candles. You want to keep an eye on that. So you definitely want it on something that's not going to burn. So put it on a cookie sheet, put it on a some foil, put it on a tile, something along this lines. But I'm going to show you this. Make this heater. It works. A lot of people call them the Swedish heaters, but this is the easiest way to make it. There's lots of ways. You need airflow. Think TP. Think airflow. Okay. You can heat, if you've got 4 tea light candles that say those tea light candles last 4 hours, you can heat a good size room with this. No joke.
So here's my candle experiment, part 1. After a conversation I had with a friend of mine in Seattle, what I did is I went and picked up a couple pots, bricks, and just used some bolts as spacers. And I've been kind of playing around with this today. Just grabbed a small Christmas candle. And what I have found, go here, I believe that is a 4-inch pot. Take a couple spacers.
All that is to create air, something that won't burn. You could use a tuna fish can and cut out the both sides. You can, anything that's not going to burn. Create space.
Add something to keep the heat in. Now, I've messed with this a couple times.
You can use a piece of foil over that too.
Apart. You can see right now it is 120. It's always hotter at the top, 159. And I have found that this will heat up to about 170, 155, 160, and then it tops 170. But here's an even better way to do it. Take it apart.
You need that space.
So let's pull these off. And you can use other clay pots as spacers. And then what we do is you're going to set this up with that on the bottom. Add that. And this, it doesn't matter if it's one way or another, just as long as you're able to block.
Right, as long as you have that airflow going under that first pot, so it doesn't put the candle out. You need that oxygen.
With one candle, this thing will heat up, and the base will get warmer. Right now it's at 91. That's at 114. The top's at 93, and that's only because it's only been, not even barely a minute, a couple minutes. So this right here will heat up to about 175 to 200 degrees, warmer at the top than it is at the bottom. And I've found that when you stack them, when you have a heat shield, just with one candle, again, you're in that 155 to 175 degree range. Anyways, we'll come back. We'll check this out. But this is version 1, couple bricks. And then what I've done below, you can see there I've got a little base that I put the candle in that just kind of collects the extra wax. I would recommend putting down some
foil, cookie sheet,
tin foil, or aluminum of some sort, just to collect the extra, the wax and runoff. Which you can see right there. There is some runoff from the candle. You can use these little teacher candles. I've seen that done. Again, this is just one candle. I'm curious to see how it'd go with multiples. But the stack design seems to work a little better than the when you put the smaller pot inside the bigger pot. It tends to get a little more heat. I will do a second video. I'm going to give it about an hour, let everything heat up. We'll check it again. But as it sits right now, 113 at the top, 91 at the bottom, and it gets cooler as it goes down. And then again, this has been taken apart and put back together, but you can kind of see where we're at with that as the laser runs down. This whole setup is about $12. And if you have a small space, a van, a room, this will help to, and when I say room, I mean not 750 square feet. I'm talking smaller than that.
Right. Okay. So with that, my theory is basically the more clay that's on the outside, the more that it's going to heat up, and the more it's going to heat up and out. And and out. So the more you can contain that with hanging blankets, closing off rooms, making a smaller area to heat, same dealio. You could do it in cars. I've taught people how to do it in mason jars with the little wire holder. You can, make I say again, a lard candle or a Crisco candle. Put a taper candle in it and keep it burning. You want your wax to stay up. So if you're just putting a bare candle in there, it's going to run and run and run. Of course, it's not going to last as long. So anything contained, if you had put that in that candle in a jar, it would have worked just as well as being on that saucer. So I've had a lot of different variations of this. Of course, the bigger the amount of clay you're heating, so the bigger the pot, the better. But I had 2 small pots in a very large room, and I was getting heat off of that, and it kept everything going. We were lucky enough to have a gas stove, so I could boil water. Boiling water will humidify, of course, everything. It's a good time to clean your wallpaper if you need to, because it's going to get condensation on it. But it will lift up the air in room 10, 15 degrees sometimes if you're boiling water. You can do those. You can also, if you're able to heat up your oven, you don't want to run your oven constantly, or if you're running on a small generator or something like that, and you have clay bricks. Now, I highly recommend clay bricks. Be careful what you're going to heat up, because if it has air bubbles in it, things can, expand, and moisture expands, explodes, things are going to crack. But if you have clay bricks, you can put them in on a cookie sheet, heat those suckers up, and those things stay warm a long time. Don't have everybody spread all over the house. Bring everybody down to one room and keep it going that way. And if you have time, if you can't go anywhere now, of course, in the future, you always want, more water than you think you need per person. You also need it for hygiene and flushing the toilet. Fill your tub up. Make sure that you have water for all your pets and things like that. You can always flush a toilet with a pot of water. You can do lots of things like that, but staying warm is important. Get all your candles collected. Understand Crisco burns. Crayons burn. A crayon in Crisco. A tub of Crisco, great value, whatever, will burn the regular size. I forget how many ounces that is, but that sucker will burn over a month. I mean, it's incredible. So anytime you have a heat source like that, a couple of candles in the bathroom, keep those going. Jar candles are a big deal. You can use those too. Be careful, of course, with pets and kids and all that kind of stuff. If you have solar candles outside, solar lights outside, charge them during the day, bring them in at night, put them in if you have a clear bottle, take like a soda 2-liter bottle, take the label off. You want as much open on the bottle as possible. Fill it with water, put the solar light, just drop it in the top of it, a little stick can go down in the solar, put it in front of a mirror, light a whole bathroom up. It'll light up a whole bedroom. And it's going to last for as long as that solar light will work, and you can recharge them in the next day. So there's a couple of hints. Staying warm is really important. Make sure you're dressing in layers. Check on all the elderly. Do not leave your pets outside. Check on small kids too. Alcohol does not keep you warm. It's a false warmth. It's going to make you feel a little bit better, but make sure that you're, checking on your core and things like that. There's lots of hints on how to stay warm on a budget as well. I highly recommend anybody that you have those little emergency blankets that keep you warm, get those. Remember layers and sticking together. And like I said, tents. If you do not have a tent to put up in the living room, you can make it fun. You can read books. You can do whatever. If you have your phones, you can watch movies. Build a tent because in the living room, out of blankets and things like that, because you're going to keep everything contained, and you can make it that way. And if you have to store food, you can store it outside. Make sure you put something over it that animals are not going to get to it, because they're hungry too. And if you can feed the animals outside, don't forget to feed the birds. Toppins a bag. All right, there you go. I hope that helped some people. We got a few people through in Texas that listened to me, and they emailed me afterwards that they did that. And they put like 4 jar candles together on a table, and they put everything around the room, and they played all kinds of card games, and they did what they said they did, like shadow theater, because they heard me talking about how I used to do that with the kids, shadow puppet theater and stuff, made up stories. And they did a whole like Walton's weekend, and they finally got their electric. They were able to cook their food, and just don't panic. As long as you've got something to eat and you've got water and you're getting protein, you can make it. You can make it. Okay. So don't panic. And then when you can, try to get a small generator just to write, small things that you need. If you do have any issues where somebody in your home needs something like oxygen or medical, medicines and things that need to stay cold or refrigerated, you need to be in front of that before a storm. There are small generators or small solar generators. You have to have sun. Look into that. There's lots and lots of videos on YouTube of people that can help walk you through that kind of stuff. And you can get really, it's not the best in the world, but you can get small units and things at like places like Harbor Freight. I'm not saying I recommend all of their stuff. I'm just saying there are small things that will help you get through, small baby generators as well as big old daddy generators, it's out there and you can buy them in pieces. So think about that. Okay. Just don't go doing something silly like, starting a fire in your bathtub or something without proper oxygen available. Okay. All right. Be well, be safe. All right. Here's another one. This is fun. Before we go, I wanted to show you some happy stuff. And I just thought this was so neat. It has nothing to do with paranormal. However, you may find it creepy. So if you find it creepy, good, Bernice. Yep, make your list. And like I said, I think it's any, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's anything clay pot. I highly recommend you only use the terracotta pots. Don't try to use clay stuff that, cooking stuff and things like that, because they're glazed and it's different, and I don't want it to crack and I don't want it to overheat and pop. So if you can't do that, look into the one where you can use bricks. You can make small heaters and things like that. My gosh, you can do all kinds of things. But remember, that carbon dioxide builds up quickly. So, we don't want any accidents. Be careful. Okay. All right. So this one is fun. I think now this one was also a BBC, but it comes under kind of the weird and wonderful. I think it's really neat. So let's watch this one.
This young man, Henry, is unusually talented. A firm, unhesitant line drawn with assurance and great...
Wait a minute. What did I just do? I just messed up. Hang on one second. Let me get it back. I opened the wrong one. How did I do that? There we go. That should be it. Okay.
This young man, Henry, is unusually talented. A firm, unhesitant line drawn with assurance and great skill. But he ought to be good because he's been practicing for about 200 years. He's one of a remarkable trio of automatons, built in the 18th century, long before electronics or transistors, before batteries, even before electricity. But in the field of pure applied mechanics, they've never been surpassed. Certainly, they have style, not just the mere clockwork precision that you might expect. We're all used to push buttons, to automation and electric brains, but there's something charming, almost touching about this young chap who's been producing his careful sketches during 3 lifetimes. And this is how he does it. An unusual behind-the-clothes look at his driving force. 3 sets of cams that give him that dexterous attention to detail. There's a second mechanism to bring all 12 cams into play and cause his eyes to follow the deft movements of his drawing hand. And when he stops to appraise what he's done, make him blow away any dust that's settled on his pad. Just watch. As an artist, he's skilled at 4 drawings, and as you can see, he's a young man of his time. Louis XVI facing Marie Antoinette,
Is this not incredible?
Cupid in a chariot, lashing out at a butterfly, and a finely shaded dog.
Thank you, Soy. Cathedra got one. Uncommon got one. Midwest got one.
As the young artist
I
completes
know,
this
right?
sketch, he
Weird.
stops, considers, and then writes in a decisive hand, Mon toutou, my doggy. And that diligent young chap has a big sister, Marianne. A musical sister, this one, sitting patiently at her little harmonium, waiting to be urged to play. And she plainly finds it an emotional moment. And when she plays, she really plays. None of that mechanical pianola tune grinding here. The fingers of a modern automaton merely follow the keys while the instrument does the playing. But this minuet depends upon these fingers, which must press the correct keys of a clavecin anyone could play with practice. She and her brothers were created by Pierre Jacquet Dreux, who lived in the mountains near Neuchâtel between 1721 and 1790, in that century of enlightenment. The clockmaking industry had made its appearance here 50 years earlier, towards the end of the 17th century, and Jacquet Dreux became perhaps the most skilled watchmaker and mechanic of his age. And if these friendly automatons enchant and fascinate us today, well, you can imagine with what wonder they were received 200 years ago. Then they traveled in state to the courts and palaces of Europe, to London and Paris and St. Petersburg, spent many years in Spain, reappeared in Paris in 1812, passed most of the last century in Germany, and came home to Neuchâtel in 1906. The second brother, Charles, is perhaps the most gifted of all. He's a writer and can compose almost any message in a fine, regular 18th century hand. Like many writers, he can be temperamental. He won't tolerate any sudden change in temperature. A few degrees warmer or cooler, and he'll sulk, make spelling mistakes, neglect his spacing, even forget to write at all. As needed, he dips his quill into an inkwell of ordinary ink, a wonderfully natural movement followed by his head and his eyes. That careful hand is guided by mechanisms even more complex than those of his brother and sister. One directs the boy's wrist in 3 directions, another controls the upward and downward movement of the meticulous handwriting and animates his head and his eyes. Almost all the brass cams for his 44 letters and a full stop are the originals fashioned by Jacquet Dreux, though 1 or 2, getting a little thin around the edges after 2 centuries of scribble, 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 have been reinforced by steel plates, filed down to match the original profiles. Only clothes and wigs have been replaced, and they remain in keeping with their time.
It's incredible.
Each month, the clothes are cleaned and pressed, and a hairdresser comes to give them all a shampoo and set. As the immaculate Charles writes on, he carefully watches his pen, an expression full of attention. He writes in French
1700s.
normally, but he can manage a well-known phrase in almost any language.
Is that not incredible? When you think that that was done so long ago by hands that made these tiny gears, not only can it write and dip the pen and write, but you can change it. And you can change the languages, but all these little gears, it's amazing. And I think it's a wonderful salute, amazing to the trade of these individuals that, and I wanted to show you guys that to let you know that if you're doing something, I don't care if you're a leather worker or you're a jewelry maker or you're a blacksmith or you're building something with your hands, you're building a cabin or you're building a home, whatever it may be, that creativity keeps you so close to the light. Because I'm telling you something, the dark side is not creative. That's why they keep doing the same stuff over and over again. That's why it's so easy to pick it out, because they cannot be creative. Once they lose that, they get closer and closer to the darkness and further away from their source connection. That's where all that creativity and that high vibe stuff comes from. And it just keeps you so close, much closer to the light. And a lot of people almost feel that when they're creating something, it's almost like a form of meditation or grounding. I highly recommend that if you've been distracted by the things in the world and trying to just keep your head above the waves, you might have pulled away from that. So I want you to think about if you're stuck in the house, if you're, have to be in for a little bit. I don't think we're going to get as much snow as a lot of people, but we're getting real cold weather. I'm putting, blankets over my windows. Just to save the money. Just because I don't like being cold. I hate being cold. So, you got to do what you got to do. But I want you to remember, if there's anything that you can do to bring out stuff, like if you had an old craft, or if you're a crocheter, or if you're going to build something or build shelves or whittle something, whatever it may be, clay, or get your hands involved in something. If you're baking or cooking or anything along those lines, stay in that craftiness. If you're getting where you have to stay in, because that's what cabin fever starts getting you. So get those books you wanted to read. Maybe take a course if you've still got. Hillsdale College has got all kind of free courses. Go learn about your favorite author, or go learn the Constitution. Go take some classes. Whatever it may be, online. Stay creative. Keep your mind going. Keep your hands moving. Do the thing. Do the thing. I don't care if it's reorganizing the pantry. Keep your mind going. Read. Learn something. It's fantastic. And that is definitely, somebody who is creative and used his mind and imagination to create something that we're looking at centuries later that's still working. We bought a damn crock pot that I think it worked once and blew up. This is progress. I can go back centuries ago and look what they were creating. So something got lost along the way, and we need to get that back. And I think the way we get that back is to recognize how beautiful it was, what a miracle it is for each individual to be able to be creative and be themselves and have that spark, right? And have it not be put out by, and diminished by the world and everything that's coming at them. We got to keep that spark alive. And this is one of the tools we need to know. And it's a big tool, and we put it right in our toolbox to remember, be creative. Try to encourage, if you have got kids or grandkids, whatever, to learn a trade or pick up a trade, or just be creative on the side as a hobby, because they're trying to stomp that out. Don't you let them. Don't you let them. Okay. All right. One more. This is just, again, this is fun, but let me show you what imagination can do. Again, centuries ago. And imagine having somebody doing something like this today with their hands, with the tools that they use with their hands, not some AI bullshit. Okay. Look at this. This is amazing. And this is fun. And then we'll get out of here. We'll be with Steve tomorrow, and we'll finish some more of these. These are fun, right? The British little snack bites. I think they're really cool. The BBC. God bless the BBC.
This desk is a mechanical cylinder-top desk designed and made by David Runtgen of 1785. David Runtgen was a businessman, draftsman and craftsman who studied clockmaking as a business, but then turned clockmaking into mechanical ingenuity for cabinet making. The uniqueness of this desk is due to its mechanical abilities, hiding secret compartments and opening up with a turn of a key, a drop of a weight, or a flick of a switch. It is constructed of pine and oak, or Hawthorne oak for stability, and then veneered with flame mahogany, either from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, or Cuba. The desk came into the Royal Collection through the interest of George IV, who acquired it due to the French Revolution, which actually decimated David Runtgen's business. We decided that it would need treatment or conservation program because the mechanism was becoming rather slow, sluggish, temperamental, and what I might describe moody. It wouldn't operate as it should by opening itself out in one complete movement. It was doing it very slowly, and sometimes it needed a bit of support. After the conservation and restoration program, the mechanical movement now flows very smoothly, although not very subtly, but we feel that we have got it back to the factory settings of 1785.
Boop. 1785. And now we're all sitting here trying to download an app or trying to get, buying stuff from the Walmart on the daggum app, and you're sitting here thinking, what am I doing? It's crazy. We've advanced so much. We've almost advanced away from ourselves. So I think the balance is to come back in and realize who we really are, where our soul balance is, and who we were supposed to be in this time that we decided to come back to this prison planet and all this craziness. So, you know what I mean? We're here to do something. And I think every light worker in here knows that they're here to keep their lights on and their square foot of real estate around them. And we're all doing it in our own way. And I think we come in here on a Sunday trying to most of the time on a Saturday, especially if I have to work late and I don't have something I've been researching where I'm compiling a big deep dive into a show, I'll come through and I'll go, okay, well, I'll see if I can grab a couple of ghost videos because we're going to come on here and talk. I'd love to get on here and just talk to you guys and see what's going on in your world. To be here at the, in this time where we might get somebody that didn't know, that you can make lard candles. Always put this stuff in metal, not glass, and don't do it in the container the lard comes in. Take it out, put it in something like these little tins that we got for, cookies and stuff like that. An empty bean can, for Pete's sakes. Anything that's not going to burn, you want to be safe. And like he said, put it on foil, put it on a cookie sheet. I took a cookie sheet and I took 4 tea light candles and then I raised it up. All I had, I think the first time I made it, I did stacks of quarters just to lift it up. I didn't have bricks then. So I did something, and you can use nuts or whatever you've got around that are metal that won't burn. Not going to worry about being hot or get too hot and explode on you. Be smart. And then lift that up so you can get that air under that first, so the oxygen can get to the candles, and that heats up the clay pot. And then you have another clay pot on top of it. And I've found that you don't need the air in between the two pots. And you cover the hole on the top. You can cover it with one of those little clay things. You can cover it with a tile or a metal coaster or something along those lines, a metal lid, an empty tuna fish can, whatever you want, piece of foil folded up. That's all you need. You just want to keep the heat trapped in so it resonates. I know the brick thing is a really good idea. You can also warm up a bed like they used to with the coal ashes. Those were those bed warmers. Remember those? You can do that kind of thing too. But again, if you've got everybody close by, try not to, harm your family because you're closed in, so have lots of things that you can do. Go back to, cutting paper dolls or, whatever you can come up with. Go through your pantry, go through your junk drawers, make all kinds of little crafts. And, and if you can think of one, I remember there was one that was really neat. We went through the pantry and got stuff like, we cleaned the pantry, and instead of throwing the food out that had expired or whatever it was, we found different ways to put it together for the animals outside. And every year we take our Christmas tree, if we were lucky enough to have a real Christmas tree, instead of just throwing it out on the curb, we'd take the Christmas tree out in the stand right before a snow. Actually, I've got mine out there right now because we're ready to get snow. And we took all this stuff. We made pine cones and tied string on them, put peanut butter on them, rolled them in bird seed, and we'd stick them in the tree, tie them inside the tree so the birds could go in and have like shelter while they ate. I think we had gotten some a good deal on some couple, fruit that they were marked down or something. So we got like grapes and oranges and, cut the slices. We made peanut butter toast out of some old bread. Instead of getting rid of that stuff, crackers and things, we put jelly and peanut butter on them, stick them in the trees. The birds went nuts. And I think we got 32 inches of snow in that day and a half. And there was nowhere for these animals to eat. And this Christmas tree just sang. I mean, it almost got up and flew. There were so many birds in here, and there were so many birds from the area. And something cool about birds is a lot of different species of birds will actually, when they find food, when you watch what they do, it's crazy. They'll come in, they'll find the food, and then they'll fly away and they'll go and tell their other friends. So they'll tell the rest of the flock, hey, I found food. Come on, let's go. And I had so many different species inside of this tree, and some of them were hanging in there and eating the grapes and the oranges and stuff. So it's really neat. And if you could do that with kids, it also teaches them, look, it gave us something to do. We strung the Cheerios or the cranberries or the popcorn or whatever and hung it on the tree. And then we watched the birds, and then we looked up the different types of birds, and we played the songs, and we learned about the birds, and we did all that kind of stuff. And that killed a couple hours. So, and they learned, and they did a good deed and got outside of themselves. And, they weren't inside, playing victim and said, I'm all locked inside. I got nothing to do. Okay, well, let's go clean a closet. Let's go organize your drawers. Let's go. And when we're done with that, we'll watch a movie. And then we're, we've earned that. And then we'll go do this next thing. And then maybe we'll learn how to make biscuits in a frying pan. And you'll learn how to make a couple of meals, and it'll be okay. Sometimes it's okay to be locked up with who you're raising. And I think that's what happened in 2020. A lot of people didn't realize the people that, because they hadn't spent any time together. And it was really a psychological whiplash for a lot of people. So think about things like that. I hope you guys will be okay. We will be here tomorrow night. Oh, good. Electric doll, but that's good. There's also, you can get them real cheap for bird bath to keep the water going there. Yeah, be careful. Check on the neighbors, do all the things. Yeah, it's fun, right? Bears love those. If a bear shows up in my yard, Scott, guess what? I'm going to make him a sandwich because we're going to have an understanding. And if we don't, bear down. Just saying. Bear down. All right. I love you so much. What'd you say, Vixen? I don't want to miss anything here. Thank you guys for contributing all your different ideas and your thoughts. And I love you all. And Scott, can't thank you enough for that kindness over here at the Rumble. Thank you, everybody in Rumble. Thank you over there on Facebook. Thank you on YouTube. We've got 15 people watching on Rumble. So if you would please hit the like on your way out, I appreciate you. Tomorrow night, we're probably going to continue this and talk about some things with Steve. And I'll see if I can find more of those autonomous things. They were so neat. And I love watching them. I had a couple of the swan I wanted to show you guys and some other things. And again, it's a visual to remind us of what amazing miracles we are as human beings. Here is this individual sitting in France, you know, centuries ago, said, you know, I'm going to make this for whoever he was making it for, a coronation, or I'm sure they were making it for some grand ceremony of some sort. I forget. There's another video on one of the little writer guy, and I'll show you that one tomorrow. It's really good, and it gives a little more detail in it. But the point is that man putting that together, making all those little gears and making all those little movements, had no idea that we'd be sitting here in 2025 reveling in the majesty of it all, the amazement of it all. And it doesn't have to have a lithium battery, or, you know, turn on your garden hose on command, or, you know, stream something on your smart TV to be an amazing thing. I think we've gotten a little bit too spoiled where we don't even realize how wonderful some of the simple things are. But when we get into a crisis and we get some of those things might stop or be halted for a short amount of time, we start realizing how precious the things are that we have around us and how very lucky we are. I mean, I think every night I'm just very glad I've got a warm, safe bed to sleep in, and the people that I love are fed and safe as well. And, you know, sometimes we need to go back to that base and realize what is important so we can start appreciating the things that are around us and the things we have. And it's like that old saying, a lot of times it's almost like it's so true, and it's being proven every day, that the best things in life are free. It's friendship, it's the air you breathe, you know, and the rights that you have, and the chance to be loved. And what I think is even more important, the chance to love. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here tonight. See you tomorrow. We're going to dance our way out, I think. What do you think about that? And I love you. I got to go find it. Let me see which one I pull up here. Oh, you know what? I love this one. Let's watch this one. I love this one because win or go away. I love you guys. Everybody, thank you guys for all the kind rants and the memberships. What a beautiful way to spread love. Thank you guys. Good. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock.